This was a 7-year project, about $263 million. And so when you talk about scary,
Very.
big responsibility, lots to learn, but wonderful people to do it with.
Hello, welcome today to Project Mentor Pro. I am your guest host because we have a special event for you today. I am going to be interviewing the founding, I guess we should call boss lady of Project Mentor Pro, Cassandra Taylor. So get ready for quite an adventure to hear about her story.
Awesome.
So, Cassandra, thank you for letting me be here today and to have the fun of interviewing you. We've been friends for several years, so I'm excited to hear you share your story.
Yes.
So, to get us started, can you give us a little bit of what has brought you here today? What's your background and what led you to this?
Yes, so I always tell people I have quite an interesting story to tell. I started off in customer service, HR, and I just knew that when I grew up, I was always going to do all things HR. I had, I think it was carpal tunnel, and had really, really hurt my hand. And so I took a personal leave. And I was out on leave probably at least 6 weeks. And I'm at home just resting, going to the doctor, going through therapy. And I get a phone call. And this is a recruiter. And a recruiter says, I saw your resume online and I think you would be perfect for this junior PM role. And I never, Lee, before this, heard of project management. So I literally thought I was being punked. Like, I was just like, where's the camera? Somebody's going to jump out any minute. Like, what do you mean you saw my resume? Like, I was not actively looking. And so, back then, I'm going to date myself, but back then it was Career Builder and
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the other one, but everyone has a resume. If they still exist, everyone probably has a resume on those tools. And so she said that she named the tool, and I said, okay, I did do that before. And I just was listening. I was listening to her intently, but I just was in unbelief. I could not really believe because I didn't know anything about project management. And she said to me, I think she could hear kind of the hesitation in my voice. And she said, what do you have to lose? Why
Good
don't
point.
you just give it a shot? And I thought, I'm on medical leave. My boss will never know. If I screw it up, no one has to know. Probably just me and my husband, right? And I said, okay, sure. So long story short, I go on the interview and I interview with the VP of quality at what was then Snyder's Lands and the head project manager. And he was an engineer. And they were doing this new project because over the last 16 years, Snyder's Lance had accumulated so many companies. They went through so many acquisitions. And so, as you can imagine, when you go through different acquisitions, you inherit systems, you inherit their way of working, you inherit some people. And so, after 16 years, they wanted to just have one platform. And so, they did this project and they were going to implement this tool called PLM. It was called Product Lifecycle Management. And they needed someone to oversee a small team. And then I had 5 people working under me to actually enter the data. I said, I can do that. And I actually wrote a training manual. I trained 16 lines of businesses on the tool after we implemented. And I got to work with the vendor who helped install the system at Snyder's Lance. Wonderful experience. Wonderful experience. Of course, I was a junior PM, and all I kept thinking was, where has this industry been my whole life?
Mm-hmm.
Because literally, what I felt, Lee, was I'm not having to work at being great at this. I showed up at work. I enjoyed my team. I had fun. And I didn't feel like I was stretching any talent I had or trying to acquire new skills. It felt like I could show up and be myself.
Hmm.
And I was like, this must be what I'm meant to be in life. Like, this is what I always say, what people say, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
And I said, this might be it. And so my boss, we had such a good boss. Like, he was amazing. Every month he would take us out to eat, we'd celebrate our wins. And I just learned so much. We sat on the row, we call it the engineering row. Everybody on that row was an engineer. Because Snyder's Lance, when you think of project management, they do a lot of installation of equipment. And
Okay.
so, of course, they need engineers with that
Hmm.
type of background to be able to understand the equipment and the technical pieces of automation and how to make things work smoother for quality, all of this good stuff. And so I would be sitting at my desk and I would just listen to their calls, and I kept thinking, this is really amazing. I think I was around 37 or so, and I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. It was so amazing. And then, as most companies do, they acquired a new CEO. So, what happens? They stop all hiring. And when we had implemented the system, they said, who's going to run it? Who's going to manage it? We need an administrator. And my boss said, Cass, are you interested? And I said, I sure am. And so I was getting my hopes up, and everybody was saying, you would be perfect for it. You've done a great job with the training. You know it really well. Nobody knows it like you do. You've worked with the vendor. We're not going to continue to keep paying the vendor for support. And so it would be a great transition. So I got excited. And then before we really could get an interview, there was this acquisition happening. Hiring was frozen, and I found myself unemployed. And so I said, while I'm unemployed, I'm going to take advantage and get my PMP. I was introduced to the field, I got the bug, and I was just like, I'm just going to make it official. So people will have to pay me what I'm worth. So that's really a long story, or a short story of what happened and how I got my start.
So it sounds like you went from one sort of industry over into another, which led to this excitement over project management.
Yes.
What would you say was one of your biggest challenges with doing that?
I think it was believing in myself.
Mm.
If you can imagine, when you graduate from college, you're around 22, if
Mm-hmm.
you go straight through. I had interned at Allstate in their HR department under their head HR lady. I had did that for a year. My specialty was industrial organizational psychology, and so I really loved the aspect of understanding your culture at work, understanding the people, and then trying to make it all work together. So you do have that culture that makes people excited about coming to work. And so when you're young, you think you know everything. But the secret to that is when you get a little older, wisdom is you learn that you don't really know a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just had a hard time adjusting to being 37 years old and really trying to say, I'm starting over. Everything I've ever known has been about psychology or HR or customer service. And all of those things fit nicely together. So project management was different, and it felt so natural. I couldn't quite tell you what I was doing because it just felt like it was an extension of who I was.
Well, and we met when you had that layoff and you
Yes.
started to pursue your PMP, your project management professional. That's where I got to know you.
Yes, yes.
And would you say that that has helped? And if so, how?
Absolutely. I will tell anyone. So, anybody out there in project management land, if you are thinking about going to get your credentials, go check your local community college out. If you're here in Mecklenburg County, check out CPCC because they have an amazing program. I met this lady, the 6 people in my study group, we still connect. We still
great.
go out for dinner. I feel like we're lifelong friends and buddies, and we help each other from a networking perspective. If we need a job, if there's a problem at work, we just really lean on each other. So, what an amazing program! You led the program when I was there, and I just remember your 12-week study program on Mondays at lunchtime.
At lunchtime.
And so you've put that program together. It really helped us. And my mind goes back to studying for that test and how just you put that program together that made it so much easier. And it made us feel more confident and prepared to take that test. I think I almost took it twice. Like, I think I was going through the second round before I had to take my test. And you encouraged me. You was like, Cass, you're ready. You need to go take it. So thank you for that. But that program was amazing. It feels like family. I don't know what UNC Charlotte's program is like because I've never taken it. But I can tell you that the ladies that I've met, even the gentlemen, we connected in a way that felt like family, like community.
Which that's a good thing.
Yes,
Because you need that encouragement.
Yes.
So you got your PMP, which
Yes.
was wonderful.
Yes.
Are you using it? Did you use it after you got it?
Absolutely. So I remember you telling us not everyone passes on the first chance. And I was fortunate enough. I took it on March 23rd of 2018 in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I passed. I was shocked, but I passed. And 3 weeks later, I had 3 job offers. I believe they all came in within 2 weeks of each other, and every one was a little bit more than the other. And I remember calling you, and I remember being so excited because it was just like, you told me about this, but I can't believe it feels like I'm living my dream. And so I did take a job offer with Retail Business Services, and that's located in Salisbury, North Carolina. I started out as a project coordinator. So I know everyone has heard project manager. And even though I had my credentials and I was a junior PM, I decided to take a role as a project coordinator because I was in customer service, HR, and this job was in IT. So if my husband was here, he would tell you she doesn't know how to do anything but turn the computer on. So I felt slightly intimidated. Like I was like, you guys want me to come work with you? But it was probably the most entry level job I could get. And I felt comfortable because I believed in myself. I could get in, I could learn from the ground up, and then I could prove myself. And so it was important to me to start at the bottom. I did start in April of 2018, and I was a project coordinator for about 8 PMs on an IT team.
Wow.
That's how I kicked my IT career off. Wow.
Yeah, that's a steep learning curve.
Yes.
A busy learning curve.
Absolutely.
But then you have used that to continue to grow.
Yes.
And so where are you now?
I actually work for Hershey, the Hershey Company in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and I am a senior manager for portfolio governance in their PMO.
Big jump.
Yes.
Did you ever get that role of project manager? Because I know some people make jumps, project coordinator to whatever.
Yeah.
But did you manage to land that project manager role in the middle?
I did. I can hear my girlfriend say, Cass, your story is just, it's not ideal. It's untraditional. She says that I am one of the luckiest people that she's ever met. So I started off in April. 4 months later, I was promoted to a PM2 role at RBS. I got my very first project, I'll never forget. It was retail SIP. And so, for those of you who may not be IT savvy like I was, that has to do with good old, plain old telephone lines. And so, it was taking plain old telephone lines and upgrading it to a SIP technology. And so, I think I was in that role probably 6 to 8 months. They offered me a permanent position to come on as a FTE. I think I took that role, I feel like May of the following year. And I was doing that, just having fun. And they put me on one of their largest projects. It was called Next Gen. And I was in charge of installing network stacks for all of Food Lion.
Wow.
This was a 7-year project, about $263 million. And so when you talk about scary,
Very.
big responsibility, lots to learn, but wonderful people to do it with, it was the best experience I could have ever hoped for. Because of that project, Lee, I know so many things that no one can take from me today. And I truly believe that it has catapulted me exactly to where I am today.
I agree. And I remember you calling me sometimes going, what have I done? Am I in over my head? And I
Yes.
would always encourage you, just one foot in front of the other, keep going. You have learned and grown so much
Wow.
in what, 6 years?
Yes.
You've come a long way. And now you're at Hershey, but you also have started this company, Project Mentor Pro. So tell me a little bit about that. What led to you wanting to start this, and what is it about?
So after inheriting the project, the huge project, we actually completed that project in December, January, somewhere in there, December, January of 20. I'm trying to do my math really quick. I feel like it was around 2020,
COVID.
right before COVID. So 2019.
Okay.
So that's a great
Before COVID,
yes,
after
yeah,
COVID.
pre-COVID. And then so they said, Cass, do you have any other aspirations? And I said, yes, my whole life I've done HR. I would love to see what project management looks like in that area. So they put me on a reorg project, and I got to work with wonderful people, learn new skill sets, worked all through Christmas and New Year's. It was really, really great. And so that project had about 3 different phases to it. I managed the first phase, I managed the second phase, and then the third phase happened after I left. So I'm managing this project, and because of the reorg, I am impacted, but I'm impacted positively. And I say that with hesitancy because I do remember so many of my friends, so many of the leaders I respected were not so fortunate. And so it was a bittersweet moment because you were doing what you love and you're getting to experience some of the things that you want to experience, and then you're watching people lose their livelihood. Very sensitive moment. But when you asked me what inspired me, and so out of this reorg, they asked me to become the manager of the team I was on. So now I'm moving from a project manager to a portfolio manager. And I had about 18 people to manage, project coordinators. There were 6 coordinators. There were several PMs and some program managers. And I managed the infrastructure portfolio as well as the retail portfolio. Together was a little over $100 million altogether that I'm managing between projects and people. And that experience taught me that if I'm going to do this, I want to do it well. And I began to really hone into what's probably some skills that are intrinsic, I believe, to who I am. And I loved it. I love seeing people succeed. I love helping them become better at what they do. And before I knew it, I had people saying, if you ever leave, I'm leaving with you. Or if you ever start a company, please keep me in mind. You are amazing at this. These are things that people are sharing. And of course, I'm not reading my own press and I don't really believe them. But I have great working relationships and it just feels natural. And I would say that 3 years ago, and for 3 years consistently, somewhere along my journey, whether it was career or personal or community, I've always heard people say, you need to start your own company. So 3 years later, Lee, here I am. Project Mentor Pro was birthed.
So, what are your goals with Project Mentor Pro?
I want to give back to young, aspiring project managers, coordinators, what someone gave to me, which was opportunity. I had an amazing opportunity to change the trajectory of my financial outcome, my career, and I have made so many wonderful connections along the way. So many, including you.
I know. I'm so grateful for that.
I am too.
And I know that we're wrapping up, but I know you're going to be partnering with Central Piedmont as part of your spinoff and with some other places and folks. So I'm excited to see
Yes.
where this will take you and the opportunities, like you said, that you'll be able to offer
Yes.
to other folks. If people are interested in Project Mentor Pro, what should they do to find out more?
Well, you can definitely go to school.com/or / Project Mentor Pro, and you can join our mastermind community. There are several other aspiring project managers, coordinators, or just simply people who just want to expand their knowledge to check us out, to see if project management is for you. I would encourage you to stop by, take a look. There's plenty of material that you can peruse through, and hopefully, we'll see you at our next mastermind or at a webinar. And that is how you can find us.
Well, I can't wait to hear about all the success stories because I know they're going to be there. This is your heart and your passion, and it comes through.
Thank you.
And you are an amazing encouragement to everybody you come in contact with, including me.
Oh, thank you,
So,
Lee.
thank you for letting me interview you today. And I hope you all have learned a little bit more about Cass and her dream and vision and her new company. So, please stop by that site and see how you can be involved. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. Come see us.